What's up champs, it's Holy here with another Protoss vs Zerg build order. With the new patch 509, it is time for some new styles. It's time to get out of our comfort zone. And man, do I have a build order for you that will most definitely do exactly that. You won't be seeing any Stargates here. Instead, we'll be showing you the spiciest macro build order you can go for in PvZ. The Disruptor Drop. Don't get me wrong though, just because it's spicy doesn't mean it can't net you some solid wins, as you will be seeing from today's replay, where the legend himself, Trap, won against none other than Serral. And let's be real, if it works versus Serral, it's most definitely good enough for us. Every macro Protoss vs Zerg build order starts with one standard opening, the 1 gate force expand. However, this opening has some deviations, as Trippy is showing us with a 13 pylon probe scout, which attempts to block the Zerg's natural expansion. While this delays your second probe, it also allows you to go for a quicker chrono boost. The rest of the opening follows the standard procedure. At 16 supply we get the gateway, 17 supply we get the gas, 20 supply the beautiful nexus, also on 20 supply the cybercore, followed by the gas at 21 and the second pylon at 22 supply. The two chrono boosts you have saved up will then be divided on the nexus and the gateway, which Trip uses to start a stalker. The stalker is being built to hinder the Zerg from scouting. On the other hand, it doesn't allow for a lot of scouting on your side of things, which an adept first would be much better at. Together with this build being less safe against potential all-ins due to lacking a Stargate, you can make the choice which unit you want first. At 27 supply or at 225 in-game time, it's time for our main tech path, the Robotics Facility. Isn't it just a sight to behold seeing a Robo first in PvZ? In the meantime, the Stalker gets followed up by the second gateway unit, in this case the Adept. At 307, 37 supply or whenever it can be afforded, the second gateway will finish up the wall off. With the Robo finishing shortly afterwards, the Robotics Bay is added instantly, and a second Adept is started. As soon as the resources allow, a Warp Prism will need to be built and instantly chrono boosted. Afterwards, as soon as you can, the two gases will be added at the natural between 340 and 4 minutes, and while Trip is not forgetting to also add those necessary pylons to not get supply blocked, the Warp Prism will be used together with the two Adepts to move over the map. Also, you need an observer out of your robo to help keep the creep at bay. 2 more adepts will be warped in at home, and the 4 adepts join up to do some small harassment on the Zerg side of the map. With the robotic speed done, Warp Prism speed together with the first disruptor is started, and while some harassment is going on with the adepts, 2 more gateways at 455, 2 sentries with the extra gas, and 1 more gateway with the forge at 520 will be built. This will also mark the time Trap comes home to pick up the 2 disruptors and starts the Colossus and Colossus range, which will allow him to take a third base when finished. A Twilight at 535 will then complete the build. Now this is the time where you can really flex your multitasking muscles. Trippy is showing us how to harass with adepts while keeping the Zerg busy with the disruptor drop, potentially getting huge damage done. At home he is getting his upgrades and his third base with the Colossus at 610, which will then mark the transition. With the harassment working out well, the third base at 610 makes a lot of sense, and with this build forcing out a low economy gain due to the Zerg having to defend and rebuild drones, a blink-based army works wonders with Disruptor and Colossus support. This means if the harassment works out great, the transition is fairly simple. Probe up the third base, get that healthy gateway count going, which means 8 gateways, and go for a push at around 8 minutes when Blink and +1 finishes with 3 Colossi, 2 Disruptors, 4 sentries full of energy and around 11 Stalkers. And while Trap is showing us his decisive micro with this push, abusing the high range of the Colossi together with the immense danger of the Disruptors, we can think about what to do if the harassment doesn't go that well, or the build order isn't performed perfectly. While what we are seeing is the best case scenario, one key thing you want to keep in mind is that as long as Zerg doesn't have a hive, your mid-game Stalker army with Robo support will, on even supply, be stronger than the Zerg army. So if you feel like you can't trade well at 8 minutes, like Trap is doing because Zerg has too much, just make sure that you hit a timing before hive with an army that is close to 200 supply. Alternatively, you can also transition to a late game army composition when you feel like you can't hit a high supply timing before the hive finishes. With everything said and done, this will be it for today's build order. For other builds and guides, check out the ESChamp guide playlist and ESChamp.com for more StarCraft shows. And of course, feel free to stop by my personal Twitch channel, twitch.tv/holyat44 as well. Good luck and have fun.
ESChamp Builds is made possible by passionate viewers just like you. To help us level up the scene, go to ESChamp.com/join to become a member and get access to the community, previews, and exclusive shows.